Xbox has a problem, and they need to find a solution. And that problem, while somewhat simple, has many causes with no easy answers. The problem I'm speaking about is, of course, games coming to the Xbox platform late or not at all. And while in the past you would have expected this because there were exclusivity deals, well, now it's happening for a whole combination of reasons, which has many Xbox fans asking, how did we end up here? And does Microsoft even care to rectify the situation? Because to many of us, the Xbox Series S was going to be a challenge from the start, and that situation has now grown into a very strange animal. But now we have a new cause rising to the surface, and one that is arguably more frustrating for the console owners. Because while many would admit that the Series S is a self-inflicted wound this generation, the recent discovery is that Xbox is just bad at working with third-party developers in general. So not only does Xbox expect developers to do extra work to get their games to run on a weaker console, they also seem to expect those same developers to just wait around for months at a time before getting a response, seemingly needing to take to Twitter to get any traction with the company. And this all seems so contrary to what the most loyal Xbox fans were expecting. Seeing Microsoft spend big money to acquire ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard seemed to signal a new era was on the horizon, only to find out after the dust settled, Xbox as a platform would look and behave very differently. Seeing first-party titles land on Nintendo and PlayStation was one thing when they were older titles, but hearing about even bigger or newer titles heading to rival platforms, well, that's something else entirely. And now, seeing Xbox bungle their relationships with third-party developers, it feels like the fans are getting hit from both sides. Watching exclusives head to your competitors while simultaneously seeing third-party games come late is a bit of a double whammy. So what are the main causes and what is the solution? Now, every weekday here at Reforge Gaming, I tell you what I think about a gaming topic, and then we go to a live stream where I want to hear what you think. So if you like this kind of content, hit like and subscribe. The history of the Xbox Series S is one mired in confusion. First, because it was an unexpected announcement that was largely forced by leaks about its existence, and second, because its performance has largely fallen below what was promised by Xbox. Third, the original marketing trailer was set to private on the original Xbox YouTube channel. And lastly, and more importantly, it has been one of the major causes for games coming to Xbox late. The first one, the big one, hit a fever pitch, and it was Baldur's Gate 3, a situation that was handled incredibly poorly by Xbox. Granted, they did send engineers to help Split Screen get working on the Series X, but they also left Larian Studios to field questions about it for months, and they did their best to walk around the real challenge being the limited power of the Series S, and this all led to one of the most unprofessional things I think I've ever seen Phil Spencer do. He told Destin Legary in an interview at Gamescom 2023 that there wasn't a hardware problem, and went on to imply that this was an issue with developers and their priorities and their decisions. This prompted an announcement just 24 hours later that Baldur's Gate 3 would be coming to Xbox and that the Series S would not be getting the split-screen co-op feature. Larian did not seem to appreciate how he handled the interview, and that was their response, thus ending feature parity between the two consoles. And the shadow of Baldur's Gate 3 has led to all sorts of disappointing realities. Black Myth Wukong, one of the biggest commercial success stories of 2024, has yet to cement an Xbox date, which has led to rumors and conspiracies about secret exclusivity deals. Now, these claims about exclusivity deals have been largely debunked by industry insiders like Jeff Grubb and others, saying there is no such deal, but many are now attributing those rumors to PlayStation working with the developers to help the game land on the PS5. Also, keep in mind, Xbox played the same card here. They claimed there was no cause here by hardware limitations, which was very similar to what Phil Spencer said, and then they seemed to imply there was some sort of a deal with the developers and PlayStation. This again is going to drive a wedge between third-party developers and your platform. And recently, the Dune Awakening devs spoke rather frankly about the Xbox Series S. An article by thegamer.com has a title that says it all. Dune Awakening lead says working with Xbox Series S is a challenge. And the full quote is quite telling. So it's one of the reasons we're coming out on PC first. There's a lot of optimizations we need to do before we release on the Xbox. But yeah, Xbox Series S is a challenge. This is a clear picture into what is really going on and what will likely continue. The more developers try to push graphics, lighting, textures, the more the Series S is going to play a role in their decision making. This means that it is likely more games are going to be hitting PC or PlayStation first, leaving the possibility of Xbox being skipped entirely, especially in light of a recent development. Anatria The Last Song announced that it would be delayed on Xbox indefinitely. Now, I jumped to the false assumption that we were looking at another Series S situation, especially considering the game skipped a demo on Xbox and they gave one to both PC and PS5. And the announcement from the Anatria devs came just a few hours after the interviews about Dune Awakening had been published. But fear not, the developers have claimed they have a working build for the Series X and S, claiming that the S is not the problem. It was then revealed what the real problem was, and many fans and critics said, well, that's actually worse. If the creation of the Xbox Series S wasn't enough to convince you that Xbox is its own worst enemy, then maybe this will. In the wake of the Anatria indefinite Xbox delay announcement, they provided the real reason for the delay. But if you read their original announcement, you can see why folks assumed it was a hardware problem. IGN has the original story in an article that is now titled, "Microsoft working with Anatria The Last Song dev to bring it to Xbox, will use feedback to improve." And again, their original announcement made it sound like development challenges. From the IGN article, quote, "Despite our best efforts and the hard work of our dedicated team, we've encountered challenges that have delayed our release on the Xbox platform." So remember, this announcement landed on the exact same day that the Dune developers used the same word. They said that the Series S was a challenge. So I don't know if they phrased it like this to hope that it would cause a bunch of controversy and people getting really angry and saying, yep, here we go again with the Series S, so that they could then come in and say, no, actually, here's the real problem, and here's what they say from the same article. It didn't explicitly blame Microsoft until fans started asking questions on the official Discord, at which point Greco didn't hold back. Quote, "You can ask Xbox why they haven't answered us for 2 months. Obviously, they don't care about Anatria and they don't care about you." Now, the reason that this is worse is because this sounds like a problem that should be easily rectified. And beyond that, it sounds like a problem that shouldn't even be happening. You have an established pattern now of games coming to your platform late due to your weaker console, even though you keep telling the public that's not the real reason, which is dishonest. And now we have a whole new reason that this is happening: logistical ineptitude. Thankfully, this story got a lot of traction, and it prompted a swift response from Microsoft, and the IGN article has been updated with the following information. A Microsoft spokesperson told IGN it would use the feedback to improve. Quote, "We've connected with Giamma Games and have great feedback that we will use to improve our processes. We look forward to working with them to bring Anatria The Last Song to Xbox. No release date for the Xbox version has been announced yet, though PlayStation 5 and the PC version will be on September 19th, 2024. As it stands, they have 10 days from this video being uploaded to get the game on Xbox at the same time as the PS5 and the PC, and given the pattern up to now, I'm not going to hold my breath. Well, why is that? Well, they are not the only game that have faced this problem. A Metroidvania game called Hack weighed in during the entire situation, and they said the following. This is why Hack is not released on Xbox. We submitted the application reviewing 8 to 9 months ago and also contacted Xbox via email many times, but ultimately did not receive any follow-up solutions. We are sorry for that. We cannot be able to bring our games to players on Xbox. Now, I find this to be staggeringly stupid. You have game developers who have taken the time to build a game for your platform at a time where some devs are skipping your platform or just coming late, and you're ignoring them? According to Jez Corden from Windows Central, he doesn't find this at all surprising, and he lays the blame at Satya Nadella's feet. He tweeted the following. I wouldn't be surprised if Anatria is skipping Xbox due to something as basic as customer support issue. Microsoft customer client support has become awful under Nadella. It used to be great, but so much of it is now automated that sometimes you can't get the help you need. Now, if he is right, it certainly gives credence to some of the theories floating around that Satya has really pushed for some of the bigger changes at Xbox. After Black Ops 6 was announced to be coming to Game Pass day and date, I theorized that Phil Spencer fought for that, as seemingly every other value point of the brand was evaporating. Exclusivity is gone from their vocabulary, they abandoned the console power narrative as soon as the consoles were released, and big titles hitting Game Pass day and date was the last man standing. So, if this is the direction for Xbox under Satya's direction and leadership, what is the solution? The fact of the matter is the Xbox Series S has no good solution. They completely overestimated its capabilities, they made more of them and subsequently then sold more of them to the public, and now we are seeing more and more devs refuse to beat around the bush and openly admit that the platform poses a challenge to development. The further and further we get into this generation, the worse this problem will get. All of the claims about the devs getting better and planning better, that goes out the window when so many games continue to push the envelope and commonly are releasing with a lack of optimization, even on the strongest of PCs. This, of course, drives me to ask about future games. What about Blade? What about The Elder Scrolls 6? Will these games be able to truly push for innovation, larger scope, and next-gen features if they have to ensure they run on the Series S? And if Xbox's publishing efforts wants to garner the attention of PC gamers and PlayStation fans, they can't launch 30 FPS games like Avowed and expect people to keep expecting and accepting these canned answers about why developers are choosing to launch 30 FPS games. Because you see, the Series S isn't just affecting third-party games coming to the Xbox platform late. It is clearly having an effect on first-party games as well. Redfall launched at 30 FPS and had 60 FPS patched in later. So did Starfield. Who knows, maybe Hellblade 2 will eventually get a 60 FPS patch, and maybe Avowed will as well. I don't see anything in Avowed's gameplay or performance that justifies the 30 FPS decision. Gee, I wonder what the common thing between all these games was. And just recently, Space Marine 2 released with 2 modes for the Series X and the PS5, but the Series S only got a 30 FPS mode. It's hard not to see a pattern here. The Series S is a 30 FPS machine with a lot of the recent releases, and it likely is the cause of these first-party Xbox games releasing at 30 FPS. And I know some are going to push back, and they're going to say, hang on a minute, Starfield and Redfall both got 60 FPS updates. Yes, and look how long it took. And it meant that the games released without them. Celebrating games launching and not being feature complete simply because they come later, that is not ideal for the consumer. And the Digital Foundry breakdown of the Starfield 60 FPS performance mode on the Series S makes it clear you might as well just play it capped at 30, because it rarely maintains 60 unless you're basically standing still or you're in a small area with no combat. All of this really makes you wonder what they're going to do as they move forward with more multi-plat releases. And the recent discovery of poor response time to third-party developers just compounds the entire issue. We heard from Chris Dring of GameIndustry.biz earlier this year, and he said that devs were questioning even shipping on Xbox, and they have a variety of reasons to question doing it. The vision of the platform is muddled. The consoles have sold very poorly, and they continue to decline. There's the challenges of the Series S and its limited memory, and now, apparently, slow responses to Xbox when you apply to come to their platform. Those are a lot of reasons to skip Xbox entirely. So, what's the solution? Well, I think it's twofold. First, they have to pick a date and just drop the Series S. Stop making them, stop shipping games for them, just move on. Whatever is planned for their next iteration of hardware simply cannot be attached to the wagon of the Series S. And making all of your games for the PlayStation 5 or trying to harness the PlayStation 5 Pro or stronger power on PC, none of that can move forward in a seamless or good way if you're always having to contend with the limited memory of the Series S. Secondly, Xbox has to improve relationships with third-party developers. Stop telling the public that you don't have a hardware problem. Stop insinuating that it's either the developer's fault or that there's like a secret exclusivity deal going on. This lack of transparency, lack of professionalism, and lack of honesty is simply going to drive more and more players and companies away from your platform and deservedly so. Give people the truth. Imagine wanting to develop for a platform who publicly and passively makes it seem like their weak console isn't the problem. Imagine wanting to develop for a platform who passes the buck more than anybody I've ever seen. So, you not only have to plan better, you have to do more development. You have to cut out or dumb down your features. Then, if you end up arriving late to the platform, Phil Spencer or some other Microsoft spokesperson is going to insinuate that it's not a hardware problem, it's either a developer decision or a secret exclusivity deal. That's a really great way to make your entire platform radioactive, Xbox. If they don't course correct soon, they will find themselves in a very strange position, driving more and more third-party developers away while needing platforms like PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC to publish their games. But those are just my thoughts, and now it's time to hear your thoughts. And you can do that in a comment below or come to the live stream, which will be hitting a card right here. It will also be in a pinned comment below. And if you like this content and you want more like it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.